Okay, it appears that it is 10 o'clock. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. We want to thank you for joining us. We are chatting today about Canvas specifically for elementary. So we know that we've done a ton of work training our secondary teachers on Canvas, and we've had Canvas for years for secondary, but it's a newer endeavor for our elementary schools, which really took a huge uptick when we did remote learning. So we're going to be doing Canvas 101 for elementary in this session. And just so you know, Canvas is a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of information. It's fabulous, but there's a lot to learn. And this is going to be a big kind of overview. So you're going to get kind of the bird's eye view of what Canvas looks like for elementary at Beaverton School District. And want to reassure you that we have a ton of other courses that we've already recorded that are just ready for you to view, that are more specific minutia, right? Like I want to know exactly how to set up this portion of it. Don't worry, we have all of those trainings as well. So this is intended to be nice big picture for you of what Canvas looks like in Beaverton at the elementary level. So as a reminder, we are actually recording this session so people can watch it later. So if you have questions, be sure to save those to the end. We'll make sure that we have a time to answer any of your questions, and you're also welcome to put them in the chat if that is best for you. All right, well, officially welcoming. My name is Carrie Coonert, and I'm a member of our digital curriculum team that helps with all things technology implementation in the classroom. And today I am joined by the fabulous Nicole Carter, who is also a member of our digital curriculum team. And she's also literacy support as well. So if that is primarily secondary, but she can direct you if you have literacy questions as well. So our contact information is on here for you. When we're doing this PD, this summer session here, this PD on the patio, we did last year and we're doing it again this year. And one of the things that we said is, okay, well, when you do your sessions to all of our presenters, be sure to let your participants know which of these important umbrellas your course addresses, right? Does it work on connecting with students or engaging or specifically teaching and delivering content? Does it work on checking for understanding or giving feedback and responding? And when you look at our session, we're supposed to circle the ones that it responds to. And Canvas does all of those things. Canvas is an incredibly useful tool in all of these aspects. So hopefully we'll touch on that today to show you just some of the things that you can do within Canvas.
So as always, we need to be thinking about equity lens. How are we serving all of our students, if at all, when we're building curriculum, especially as we come into contact with Canvas, because that's really the key here. Canvas is our platform to provide instruction. So as we're building any of our curriculum, we need to be thinking about those equity lens questions. Whose voice is it represented? Are there any students that particularly benefit or are experiencing a burden from the choices that I'm making as I'm building? So all of these questions just constantly need to be keeping in the back of our heads as we move forward as just our normal process. Okay. So Canvas is, as we kind of mentioned at the beginning, a learning management system that we are providing access to for our elementary teachers in 4th and 5th grade. And a learning management system just means that it's a more robust system than some of the others out there. So don't shoot the messenger, but for instance, Google Classroom isn't as robust as what Canvas can provide in terms of organization, the grade book, the feedback, the alignment with standards, all of those pieces kind of come into play. Now, Canvas was originally created for colleges. And so one might say, well, why on earth, if it was made for college students, would we want to make it available for our 4th or 5th grade students? And I think, quite frankly, what we have realized is while the learning curve is great for Canvas, you can simplify it down and make it usable for students. I would not recommend it necessarily for anyone below 4th grade. I think Seesaw works well for that. But in thinking about why we might want to use it in fourth and fifth, well, they're going to experience Canvas as a student once they get to middle school. And Carrie and I have often talked about this, as well as with our teachers that were early adopters last year, how easy it might be for a student to be able to understand and navigate Canvas when they only have one teacher, as opposed to when they go into sixth grade and they're having to learn this new management system with multiple teachers on top of everything else that's going on in middle school. So we really think that it is a great opportunity, especially at fifth grade, for our students to start to learn how to use and work Canvas into their student daily life. So it is, again, a place where you create your curriculum and content for students to turn in work digitally. So they can do that. If you are familiar with Seesaw, they can do that by turning in photos of their work. So even if they're still working paper pencil, they can take a photo and turn it in. But obviously there's lots of other options as we start to learn to innovate in our classrooms and create curriculum that's engaging for students. A lot of times that is in a digital platform or space, especially for a finished published submission for a summative assignment. So Canvas is really great for that. And a lot of times, while it might take a lot of work on the front end to set some stuff up, once a lot of that stuff is set up, like our teachers that might have experienced it last year, this year they can tweak a few things, but a lot of their stuff is already created. So when we talk about efficiency for teachers, that's kind of a big deal. And it also provides you for a space to give feedback, whether that's through text or typing, video and audio feedback, and the use of rubrics, which can make your teacher efficiency better. As a secondary English teacher, I always tell people this stat because I think it can kind of help alleviate fears. When you're grading papers at the secondary level, it can take upwards of 24 extra hours to just grade one essay. And when I started using the resources available in Canvas, using a rubric or whatever, I could cut that down from 24 hours to 5 hours, which is still a lot, but it significantly helped in my teacher grading time. And so I think that's one thing to kind of just keep in mind, is that you always have this opportunity to make your work a little bit more efficient once you kind of get over that learning curve. Okay, next one. And is this still me?
Yeah,
I think it is. Okay.
Sharing.
Yeah, so we just wanted to kind of talk about how to access Canvas. And so what your first step is going to be is to go into the staff intranet or staff bookmark page, and then scroll down to where you might find Canvas. Now, when I went and did this yesterday, I don't necessarily use the bookmarks that often. And my Canvas icon was all the way down at the bottom. So you can actually manipulate and move and edit your bookmarks on that intranet page, and slide that Canvas button all the way up towards the top, which is actually what you see here happening in this GIF that's kind of moving on the screen. So once you go to the staff bookmarks, you're going to then click on Canvas. You're going to select the button for BSD teacher, and then you're going to log in with your just Beaverton email, your Google single sign-on. And the other thing we wanted to briefly mention, that if you do have your own your iPad, like an iPad from school, that you can also go ahead and access or install the teacher Canvas app. Our students have access to a Canvas student app, and then parents have access to a Canvas parent app. So as long as parents have set up a Synergy account, they automatically have a Canvas account. It's the same sign-on from Synergy to Canvas. So they automatically have access to their students' work, and that makes it, as a community, a lot easier for teachers and students and parents to all communicate and be on the same page. But when we go back to kind of talking about teacher efficiency, having access on an iPad to the teacher app can make some of your grading that much easier. Grading of essays, for example, using a stylus on my iPad in the Canvas SpeedGrader app can be really helpful than trying to mark or annotate using my MacBook trackpad, which is just horrendous. That's so difficult. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. So if you have access to an iPad or your own phone, we even have some teachers that will talk about how they can give really quick feedback through like the writing process or something by getting on their phone and doing a quick text back, or even emoji. like that's feedback, that's formative feedback. So even getting on your phone and doing a quick text back can provide some feedback for your students. So just some ideas to think about. Did we need to go in a live demo on that, or are we good? I think we're good. I think you can understand how to do that.
Yeah, I think we're good too.
Okay.
Chatting really quickly, like what does it look like, right? You're starting off the year. How do you initially set up your class? What's on your end to do? Good news is that you're provided what we're referring to as a basic shell. And that just means that we have created for you. You kind of see a little bit of the image here over on the right here. We've created for you like a super basic welcome page, right? We put the word welcome at the top. We put some suggestions on there, but that is totally up to you to personalize, right? You love the way we set it up, great, you're good to go. You can just move forward. If you want to change it, you have different colors, you have a theme for your class, you want to add your own Bitmoji, whatever, you can personalize it. And we have instructions provided with your shell on exactly how to go about doing that. So you're going to be given this kind of it's referred to as a shell, but just sort of placeholders, right, for specific pages. But again, any of that you can personalize. Now, good news is that all of your students are going to go ahead and be loaded for you. So you don't have to worry about knowing a kid's name, typing it in, getting your kids access. They will automatically be given access. Now, when is this done? Not 1,000% sure exactly what day, it sort of depends, but it's usually done typically around that pre-service week. So that week that teachers are back getting prepared for students. It has to do with rostering. It has to do with Synergy, which is the system that all the students' information is logged into. And when they have all of the classes complete, right? So your administrator needs to make sure to have all the kids settled, and then they will generate the classes. Students will have Canvas. When they open up their Canvas, they will see their instructors' courses that are provided for them. So one thing, and I'll show you in just a few minutes, is you actually have inside of your Canvas, if you log in there, you should have a course that's called your sandbox course. And a sandbox course is just what it sounds like little kids playing in a sandbox. That's literally your place to play. There are no students attached to that course, so it's your opportunity to try a page, build something, mess around, and you don't have to worry that students are going to see it. A number of teams and teachers use this strategy of a sandbox the whole year. They build in a specific place and they don't move it into their actual course until it's published and ready to go. Like your space for rough drafts, right? And playing around. So I'll show you my sandbox once we hop into a demo in just a minute. But it's okay, before you have kids actually in your class, you could spend the next chunk of time getting ready for the school year and building out your entire Canvas course. And then when students are added, we can slide that right in and it'll be ready to go for your class. So you don't feel like you have to wait until that pre-service week to start messing around in Canvas and getting some things built. You can certainly get started right now.
And I will just say this, because this was something I learned last year. I had no idea. You can always reset your sandbox, which means like go back to zero. So if you have gone into the Canvas Commons and downloaded some example lessons or modules or whatever, you can reset and wipe that clean and your sandbox is clean and good to go from new. Or you can create a new course at any time. Like if you're working on a specific unit and you would like to create a course just for that unit to mess around with and play, you don't have to stay limited to just that one sandbox course that's created for you. You can create a course at any time.
Thank you for that reminder. I need to actually clean out my sandbox now that you mentioned it.
Me too. Me too.
Another thing that teams of teachers have done is to create like a team sandbox, invite everybody from your current team, your 5th grade team. They build content there together in a space where everybody can work on it, and then they pull it into their individual courses, which has worked very well for our elementary teachers working on teams that build things together. Okay. If you are secondary and you work with Canvas, it's really a little bit simpler in terms of this portion. You are teaching 6th grade humanities, boom, you get your session, right? Period 1 of 6th grade humanities. That's already built for you. There's no need to have multiple courses. When it comes to elementary, there are options that you have for organizing. I want to talk through those 2 different options that you have. And the good news is you can start with one and then change to the other. It's not like a decision that you make and it's done for the whole year. So I want to refer you to the left-hand side of this diagram right here. One option is when you are given your course, you're going to stick with just a homeroom course. So your students will just be enrolled in one course and you will just have to maintain one course. We had a number of teachers last year who took Canvas on during remote learning for the very first time. And the great majority of them, and think all of them, just started with their homeroom course. It was one course to have to manage. And I'm going to go ahead and hop out and kind of show you what that could look like. So I'm going to get into my Canvas over here. And these are courses that I have access to. Some of them I've built, some others have. We have some examples in here that we wanted to show you. This one right here is by a 5th grade teacher who is one of our Canvas leaders last year, our Canvas trailblazers. And I just wanted to show you, this is what her course looks like. It's called a homeroom course, and you can tell what course you're in by looking here in the upper left-hand corner. So she has a lovely Bitmoji greeting for her class. This was at the end of the year. So she's got her agenda. Monday, this is what we're doing. All of the things are hot linked there for the kids. Tuesday, here's what we're doing. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you get the idea. And she also has some pages broken out by different subject area. And she has gone in and personalized all these buttons. So she's created these buttons and made them probably match a classroom theme or something for her, specific to her. So I am in this one course, this one place, and I can touch reading. And then reading takes me to a page that she created that has the reading information for her class. So again, I'm still inside of this same course, but I hop onto this reading page and I can see the information that has to do with reading. I can go home, back to her home page by touching this home button over here at any point that I want to. So she felt it worked better for her to keep everything contained. If I jump to math, it will take me to her math page, right? And there's the information that the kids perhaps need to know for math. I'm going to go back to her homepage. The way that she organized it is that kids just click on the assignment for that day. So she has everything hot linked here for where they need to go to get that information. So that's one option, right? She only has one class, one course going on. It's called homeroom, and it has all the different subjects. She created pages to organize that. I'm going to peek here into her modules, which I haven't done yet.
I know. I was just going to say, if you wanted to go into either the pages or the modules, it would kind of maybe explain for people why they might decide after the first couple of months to change.
So I haven't peeked into hers yet, and I so appreciate the teachers who let us borrow and like literally like stalk into their courses. So what she's done basically is kind of create big folders, right? So modules, you can go over here and add an additional module. She's created a module called reading. And underneath reading, she has all of the assignments that she has assigned to kids in reading. She created another folder called writing. And inside that, she's got some of the pages she created. She has a unit that we prepared in writing as well. Here's her math and her math pages and units, science and health, social studies, and specials. So she has created these modules, these sections with all of this information. A number of our teachers previously started this way. They thought, okay, this is a lot to take on in addition to remote learning. So they just created these folders. If you are truly using Canvas often for your assignments, you're going to end up with way, way, way more than these. What are there? Six assignments there for reading. If you are giving a reading, a page of information to kids, or an assignment that you're giving them every day or every other day or weekly, you're soon going to find that this reading folder gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and a little bit cumbersome and hard to manage. So we did have a number of our teachers last year who started with this system of only one class. And then I was going to guess it's probably October-ish. And again, it was remote learning, so maybe they had more online than the average year. But about October, they were like, I just have too much going on in my one course. Have to find things, I have to dig through things. When we get to the grade book and took a look at their grades, they didn't have grades organized by specific subject. I couldn't just see the math grades very easily. I saw all the grades. And so it just became again, cumbersome, a bit overwhelming.
And we realized that there are some ways, like you can go in and make assignment groups, and you could make a math assignment group and start to group things so you can filter in your grade book. But like honestly, it really does become a bit too much. But if you are familiar with like Google Classroom or something, like even what Carrie has shown you so far is organizationally leaps and bounds above what you might get in a less robust system. So I think that organization thing where you really can truly see either your subject areas or your units for subject areas, like clearly mapped out and organized, makes it easier for you and easier for students and parents to navigate. So even though it can become cumbersome, it's still like, again, leaps above what we might see if we were using a different platform.
So in this diagram, we tried to show you that, okay, you have option over here on the left to just deal with your homeroom course. And that is actually a great place to start as you're learning Canvas and trying to navigate it. At some point, the great majority of our teachers using Canvas last year moved into this option over here on the right, where they had their homeroom course still as home base. It was still their homepage. It was still where kids navigated to see the daily agenda, what specials they had, and those kinds of things. But then the students would navigate to all of these other courses. Okay, a specific course for reading and writing and math. I think science and health were combined, and social studies. So they had all of these courses going on. But the beautiful part is that kids didn't necessarily even know that that was a thing. Kids, and actually a number of teachers transferred mid-year, the students didn't know there was anything different. So when I was in that homeroom class, instead of navigating to the math page, you would just create a link that went from the homeroom course and navigated to the math course. Now the kids don't know any different. They still touch the math button. It still takes them to the math assignments for that day or all the math resources. But on your end as the teacher, you didn't have to see all of those subject areas in one space. You hopped in your math course and you organized things by math unit, right? Instead of having a math folder, it was unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. It was way more manageable that way for our teachers. In addition to opening the grade book, when you open the math grade book, I was only dealing with math information at that point. So our teachers ended up moving to this organization system. And I'm going to show you a teacher. Let me go back to
It's
my.
just so unique to elementary that everybody has to manage all of those different subject areas. Now, secondary, like they're managing different grade, different periods, but in elementary, like it's such a unique animal
It totally
to
is.
try and make it work.
So my friend Allie Marr, who is one of our Canvas Trailblazers last year, was gracious enough to let us peek into her courses. And you'll notice if you look here, these are her different courses. She's got her homeroom, which is that base area. She's got one for math, reading, science and health, social studies, and writing. So on her end, they are all separate courses. Now students would navigate to their homeroom. So let's open up her homeroom. And if you remember up here on the upper left, you can tell what class you're in. So right there, we're in her homeroom for Miss Marr. And she's got all of her information. And now I'm going to navigate again, and I'm just going to touch her math course. And again, in the previous example, it took us to a math page. But here you'll notice up on the upper left, I've now gone into her math course. But you can tell, you couldn't really tell I've gone into another course. It was very seamless. But when I do pop into her modules here in her math course, again, we're peeking it. Imagine someone peeking in at your like Google Drive all organized. So she has it organized, end of the year stuff. She has it organized by the day. So she organized things by weeks. So she's got, this was happening in this graphing unit. And there's all the assignments and things that kids needed to know. So it could be an entire unit, right? Here's my launching the school year unit. She organized it by weeks. So that's the way she has everything organized in here, all the different lessons, the lesson videos. But again, this is just math, right? This is math that she had for the entire year. Nice part is over here on the left, there's this little arrow here. And if looking at all of that is daunting to you, you can collapse them. Right? So if you don't want to see, if I just need to go back and reference something or find that assignment, I could do that and have it be a little bit less scrolling if you don't want to have to scroll through all that information. So wanted to show you those two different organizational structures. And again, a quick disclaimer, learning Canvas up front It's a lot. It's a steep learning curve. There's just it's pros and cons, right? It can do so much, so obviously there's a lot to learn, right? So as soon as you learn one little thing, it sort of snowballs. You learn one little thing and you realize, oh, this applies to all the pages I do. This applies to all the assignments I do. So it's a lot of learning up front, but then it pays off. It pays off that you will be beautifully organized. And if you think about it, I just showed you that math unit, that whole year plan she's already done last year. She put in the legwork. So this year she can pull out week 1, right? Change whatever she needs to change and send it right out to her students. And so should be super organized, and kids can access things from home, right? So it's not, where did I find that assignment? Where did that teacher put that? What was the link to that? It is all totally organized right inside there and in folders and in modules. So hopefully this part is super unique to elementary. You will be given all 6 of these courses over here on the right. So they will be all given to your homeroom: reading, writing, math, science, social studies. You can choose to ignore those and just use the homeroom. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed if they're all sitting in there. That certainly doesn't mean that you need to use all of them until the point where you feel ready to do so.
Okay, so what we were trying to do here, and Carrie created this, and we were kind of going back and forth. I was like, okay, how can we make sure that this makes sense to people? So the larger grayscale or square is the course. You have the course that the students go into. And then within that course, think kind of file folders on your computer or in Google Drive. So within that, you have these modules. We're kind of wanting you guys to understand the terminology that's used, right? So the modules are like your file folders. Within that module, you will then create pages, assignments, discussions, quizzes, maybe even links to outside resources. It's all contained within that module. And that there's a reason for using those modules. It's easy for students to access and to move. It creates a forward and back button for students to move basically from top to bottom of the content. So you think, I want the students to do this first, this second, this third. So it allows you to build in some scaffolding. All of that's really important. But basically, understanding that you have bigger picture course, and then within that you create your modules. Now, if we're thinking in terms of that homeroom course, then your modules might be your subject areas, right? Whereas if you think your course is subject area math, then your modules are then your either weeks or units of study that you're doing for that particular subject area. So that's some terminology for you. Then go ahead to the next one. To break it down a little bit more, I like to always ask myself as I'm creating content within Canvas, what do I need to get this information to the students? Now, if I need them to just read through some content, but they don't actually need to do anything, they don't have to turn anything into me that I need to give them feedback or a grade on, then I'm probably going to create a page. And a page is just like a website. It's just a single page of information. You're given access, which we're going to talk about in a minute, to the rich content editor on across all of these different options. So really, once you start creating within that content editor, it's the same no matter which one you choose, but your intention with your design is different. So if I don't need the kids to turn in anything, then I'm going to build it in a page, and they're not going to turn anything in with it. Now, if I need them to turn something into me and only me, I'm the teacher. Well, we can do peer reviews on assignments too, can't we? So if I only want to give them feedback, I want them to show their learning in some way, and then I'm going to do an assignment. Usually when I think about using an assignment, I do think about it as there's no collaboration or community interaction, but you can actually put on a peer review to an assignment, which allows them to interact with someone in their class. That's a little bit more advanced. I will not lie on that. So for the most part, unless you're instituting that peer review option, assignment is really a one-to-one between a teacher and a student, and giving feedback there. Now, if I do think that it's something where the students would benefit from all of their peers seeing their work or their response, then I'm going to use a discussion thread. This is where I want them to show their learning, and they're going to benefit from each other's kind of give and take. Now, the discussion thread you need to be really intentional with. You need to be very clear in your instructions, answer this prompt, and then respond to your peers by doing this, this, or this. Using sentence frames is really helpful here. Otherwise, if you don't set it up clearly like that, it basically is just a writing prompt and there's no like interaction. Like you need to really guide, especially the first few times that you use a discussion thread, you should be guiding the students through how you want them to interact with it. And hopefully you want them interacting with each other. And so you need to guide them through that. And then the last one is if it's information that could just be a quick formative and you would love to use, the option of something grading it for you, then you might want to do quizzes where you've got options for multiple choice, true or false, fill in the blank. You've got quite a few answers there. But that's going to be kind of similar to an assignment and a one-to-one interaction. And maybe even, well, if you're doing like a paragraph or a short answer where you have to go in and read what their response is, you might be giving feedback there. But for the most part, most people use the grading features in the quizzes where it does it for you. And yeah, so every time I'm creating something, I just go through my head, what do I want to do here? Do the kids need to turn anything in? If they don't, then I use a page. And if they do need to turn something in, then my next question is, okay, do they need to interact with their peers? And if it's a yes, then it's a discussion thread for the most part. And if it's a no, then most of the time I'm using assignments. We've seen a lot of teachers do some great things with quizzes. I can especially see them being useful in our dual language classrooms because I know our world language teachers at the secondary level use quizzes to great effect because you can turn in answers with an audio recording. So that could be really useful actually. But yeah, just go through that process of kind of breaking that down in your head and asking yourself those questions as you start to build. And then the next thought to think about, and we're not going to spend too much time here, but is just really thinking about as you start building your content, you really should be building them in modules. And, we like to, whenever we build something like this and give it out to teachers, we like and share it with people. So if you go into the comments and grab something that's coming from like a TOSA, usually there will be a teacher overview. This is unpublished, which means the students don't see it, but it's information for you to take in and read through, maybe modify something or add something to one of the lessons. So be on the lookout for that. The students, again, don't see it. And sometimes also too, we give you access to like how we might build some of the headers or the buttons or something. So be on the lookout for that. It's usually just a slide, Google slide. So it's usually a link to that so that you can access that and build your own buttons similar to the content that's already been built. You have access in modules to build text headers, and that can be really helpful to guide students to specific days or assignments that they might need. You can add emojis in any of your naming conventions, which also can be like a trigger, a symbol to guide students to specific things. In fact, we have access to one of our teachers, Davenport, right? She uses emojis specific to what the content is. So the students like kind of know to guide themselves by that emoji for that particular assignment. Again, remembering you can unpublish and publish materials whenever you want the students to be able to see them. And it usually has this green check mark next to it. So if you've created a content on Saturday, hopefully you're not working outside contract hours, but if you created something on Saturday and you don't want the students to see it until Thursday, you can leave it unpublished until Thursday. And then you just click that little green button, publishes it for the students, and now they can see it. So if the students are like, I can't see it, where is it? And you're like, it's right there. I know I already did it. Check and see if the green check mark is on, because oftentimes you just maybe didn't publish it when you went to save it. And then you can see that there's different icons depending on what you're using. Pages will just simply look like a page, whereas an assignment is a page with a pencil. Quizzes is like a little rocket ship. And so you can briefly see, I use that a lot when I'm checking on the Canvas Commons, which is just basically their library of resources created by other teachers. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. When I'm looking through the preview, I'll check to see, oh, this might not be a very good resource because the person just used pages and there's no assignments. You know, I'm always looking to see that there's lots of different icons, meaning that they've thought it through and intentionally built the content so there's different engagement for the students. And then you also can indent, which might not mean anything to the students, to be perfectly honest, but it might be helpful for you when you're organizing, just to see the layout of content. So all of those are options when you're building in a module.
Okay, I'm going to talk the rich content editor, and I'm going to hop into Canvas to show that to you. I'm just going to go back to my dashboard, and I'm going to hop into my sandbox. Remember, we talked about that you have a sandbox in there to play around with. So I'm going to play around here in my sandbox. And this is just a page I'm literally messing around with, right? Like this is where you get an opportunity to learn. When you go up into edit, and this is the great part about this rich content editor, it's the same in all the things that you're going to build. So once you've played around in here and you've learned what all these buttons do, if you want to create a quiz, it's the same thing. A discussion, it's the same thing. A page or an assignment, it's the same thing. So literally, I poke around and play right in my sandbox. That's the best way to do it. All of your normal text editing things. I want it bold. I want it underlined. I want it specific. I want to provide a link, right? Do I want that to be an external link? So not in Canvas. I want to give them a link to go to some book or something, or I want to give them a link to something else right inside Canvas. Do you remember how the teachers took us right from one course to the other course, or they took us right from one course to an assignment that they've created or a specific page? You can do that right here through linking. I also have the option to upload images. And this was a learning curve for me when I was first learning how to do Canvas, that all of these pictures that we put in here had to be brought in. I got kind of spoiled by Google, right? Where I can just slide pictures in off my desktop at will. But this takes you specifically uploading that image into your course, and then you can use the image on the things that you create. So just a quick little learning curve in there. So am I uploading a new image? I want a brand new image to add to my like image library, or do I want to go ahead and grab an image that I've already uploaded in here, or one that I've perhaps created? So that's how to add images. Right in here is recording media. And this is so cool that it's just like literally right in there. I know a number of teachers who have, I'm camera shy, right? I don't love to record my face or me talking or whatever. But you can right in here just record the media right in there. So I could hit record here and there would be a greeting from me, right? Like, good morning class, today we're going to blah, 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 or make sure you remember your book order, or like whatever the thing is, it's my face saying the message, which innately is more engaging than reading the text of the reminder. So it's just more.
I would always say too, I've started paying attention. Can you point to where the word count is down towards the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
If I start to notice that I'm giving instructions where it's very wordy, I try to create assignments and stuff that are less than 200 words, if at all possible. But if I have like a text excerpt or something, I will go into the upload or record media and I will record just my voice. I don't even need my face in there, but I will record my voice reading those instructions or reading that text entry. Because you just never know if a student is going to be accessing that material, because they were not there in class. And I would rather them hear my voice reading through it, just like they would have heard if they were in class that day, than having to read it on their own, or just, simply not reading the instructions because it was too wordy. So I use that record feature quite often, and I, make a point to look at that word count down at the bottom and just make sure that I'm being, thoughtful about not making instructions too lengthy.
That's awesome.
I love using that record media feature. I just love it.
While Nicole was talking, I recorded really quickly. It's just uploading right now, saving her words, but your voice, again, just for super engaging and humanizing. It's not just a page, it's my teacher's voice, my teacher's face, which kids obviously love. My goodness, you can upload documents right here and have documents that are new documents or course documents. See, there's Nicole's instructions. So the kids could play that and just hear her read whatever the instructions were. You have access to a ton of different Google apps in here, which it's spinning on me, lots of spinning, but I would say just playing in here, right? So I have, here's my Google, this is my Google folder. So I want to go into my Google folder and I want to grab a background that I've used before or something from my Bitmoji classroom or a page that I have. So you have access right there. Are you sure you want to do it? Yeah, I'm sure. All right. We have a whole section on Canvas Studio. And again, if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, don't worry. We have whole courses on each one of these things. Canvas Studio is an opportunity for you to take videos and insert more interactive components with that. So students can be watching a video that you found on YouTube and they pause at some point and you ask a question, an engaging question for the students in the middle of that video, or they're asked to respond in some way. So we have a whole session on Canvas Studio that you should for sure check out. More apps in there, all your typical centering, all the different formulas and things from the cloud, a bunch of buttons to play with. But the point being, once you've learned how to use these buttons, then you're good. It applies to everything on Canvas. And I know some people always seem to ask this. You found like an image code, or you have some HTML that you found elsewhere and you want to be able to insert it. That's right here. So you can take a look at this same page and it does it in the fancy HTML language, right? And if you have something that you want to embed from somewhere else, you can copy, right? You don't have to understand necessarily what all of it means. You can copy it from elsewhere, paste it into here. And when you go back to this mode, it will show you what that graphic is, or it will insert that Bitmoji classroom or whatever. And we have a session to explain how to do that as well. Anything else on that, Nicole?
I think there is, when you go to insert the link, the chain link and the drop down arrow right next to the chain link. No, not that one. I think there's another place where you can just yes, right there under insert, there's a place where you can embed that code that she was talking about. If clicking on that HTML button scares you, because it can be scary. Like that is a lot of code that like not everybody wants to see. So if you do have that iframe code or that HTML stuff, there is a way to do it beyond, just place your cursor where you want, go to insert, go to embed, and you can slide that in there, or you can I often do hit that HTML code that Carrie just showed you. I can read through that. I've played enough now with all of this content that I can understand what it is. But if that's scary, that's the other option. And I think too, the other thing, when you upload images, one of the other reasons, besides the fact that Canvas is what students will see when they become middle schoolers, Canvas is what they'll see when they become college students. Besides that piece, there's also a component where we use Canvas as opposed to other things because it agrees with our student data privacy, but also too, it is a universal design piece. Whenever you upload those images, it will ask for you to add alternative text. It will ask for you to identify, is this a decorative image, or do you want to take it a step further and actually explain what that image is? So if you have a student that's seeing impaired or something, you can add in that alternative text. So there's a what's the word I'm looking for? ADA compliance that is embedded and inherent with like pretty much everything you're doing here on Canvas. That's another reason why we've chosen this platform. So I just wanted to make sure that we said that too.
I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah.
Also, from working in Google, I sometimes struggled initially when I started working in Canvas to remind myself that you have to save your work, right? I've just kind of gotten out of the realm of saving my work. So if I want to keep that awesome instructions and things that I just modified in there, I have to make sure and save it or it goes away, right? I think it reminds you if you try to navigate away from it without saving it, but I have to get in the frame of mind whenever I'm working in Canvas to hit save before I navigate away from a page. So there it goes. Now my page is updated with those audio instructions there.
Super good point. And I want to also mention that if you are on a team that's working together in a sandbox, if one of you is in an assignment and the other one pops in, whoever saves is like overriding the work of the other person. So you can't necessarily, unlike in like a collaborative Google Doc or whatever, you can't necessarily work together within the same assignment at the same time. You'll overwrite each other's work. So a little communication on that, I think, is going to be really helpful to make sure if you're building content with a team, which we have said before, like the teams that did that divvied up that work. I mean, they really helped each other out when they did that by allowing that to happen. So we really recommend doing that. Okay, so breaking down a lesson, just some things to think about as you maybe start to play or you start looking for assignments in the Canvas Commons or something. There are some like expectations that we like to see in your assignment. So we want to see you clearly give directions. So if you're going to embed a video, just like within class, you would never just play a video without setting it up, without giving your kids some instruction. This is what we're going to be seeing. This is what we're going to be doing as we watch this video. So just think about it from that perspective. If a student is absent from your class and accessing this content because they weren't with you live in class or on a Zoom, then how do they need to approach the content? Give directions. The next thing is you definitely can embed videos, YouTube videos, straight into the assignments themselves, whether it's a quiz, assignment page, whatever. There is a little button where you go in and you search through YouTube. You can either search by title, or if you already found it on YouTube, you can add in the URL. And the great thing about it is that it just will play your video. It's not going to play into another video. It's not going to show ads. It's going to keep that kind of walled gardened place for students. We also really recommend that you give step-by-step instructions that are very clear, especially at the beginning of the year. If your students are brand new to Canvas, what we like to do is to take screenshots and provide like detailed instructions for this is where you're going to press, this is what you're going to do. You could even do a little video if you wanted to instead of screenshots. But oftentimes what we'll do is we'll go in and switch to student view and take those images and paste them into like just a random Google document, and then add our circles and our arrows, and then add those as images back into Canvas. And I think that if you set up the work ahead of time at the beginning of the year and train the students on how to access things, then it'll be that much easier when you get mid-year. They'll know how to do it. And Carrie and I are currently working on a unit, a module for Canvas that does just that. It's great in beginning of the year activities that you can do at any time that literally scaffold how to access each individual component of Canvas, where we are giving you instructions, but you can just use what we're doing, and it will show students how to use Canvas and give you lots of really great feedback at the beginning of the year on all of your students. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be providing that at the beginning of the year. And large font, I like to go in, our student screens are pretty small, and I like to go in and select usually either 14 or 18 size font in Canvas instead of leaving it in the teeny tiny 12. You can actually see from this example, the directions above the video are size 12, whereas everything else is a little bit bigger. It might not appear that way, but it is actually. I remember doing it. And then you also can provide some navigation buttons. It just depends on how detailed you're getting in your module setup. The modules are going to provide a forward and back button, but if you wanted to provide a space for them to go back to their home screen, that home button there at the bottom is just an image created on a Google slide that we screenshotted. You add that in and you can hyperlink it back to wherever the kids need to go. So just some things to think about as you start kind of playing around. And then if you want to, yes. Okay. Now, as Carrie has said multiple times, we spent all of last year systematically breaking down Canvas into short 5 to 30-minute videos, depending on how intricate the content was. And so it will walk you through step by step how to become a Canvas user. So these were all based on the Canvas Users Agreement that was created with teachers and LITs and district TOSAs. Basically, there's 3 different Canvas users: user level 1, level 2, and level 3. Carrie, do you want to go ahead and just open up the PD series? That'll probably take a moment for us to like load it.
Yeah, absolutely. Happily. I want to make sure that you saw that this is the web address to get there. So if you type this in and make sure that the C and L are capitalized because they are case specific, then you can have access to this slide deck that we're about to show you with more resources than you'll ever need.
But we also hyperlinked it in this slide deck too. We'll make sure to send this slide deck out as well. So if you go to the one slide that shows, I forget where it is, but shows the layout of the slides. Oh, there it is. Slide 6, I think, if I'm reading it. No, slide 8, my bad, slide 8. Oh, well, I could talk about the table of contents now that I'm thinking about it, but we'll stay here. So when you get into the slides, what you'll notice is that we've labeled them episode 1, 2, 3, 4, and they build on each other. And so the episodes will be labeled up at the top. You'll be able to tell that it's which level it is. Level 1 is discovery, just learning and discovering how to use Canvas on a very basic level. That would be your first year attempting to use Canvas, really. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the video of this particular PD session. In every slide, we try to like ask those questions like, what does this mean and how do I use it in Canvas? And to find corresponding either videos or articles from the Canvas Help Center that we've hyperlinked and added those into each individual slide. But likely what you'll want to do is just watch the video that's in that bottom right-hand corner. And if we go back to that table of contents, yeah. And so this will just hyperlink you to each of the individual episodes. As you can see, the Discovery Level 1 is one of the longer ones, actually. And it's just builds your skill levels from episode 1 all the way through to episode 11. Once you're finished with that, then you move on to Create Level 2. And then finally, you go into Explore and Collaborate with Level 3, which really starts to tackle some of the more intense levels of Canvas. And even towards the end, we started talking about our products that are integrated with Canvas that we call our LTI series. And so that means that basically the students go into Canvas and access these different things like Newsela or Adobe Spark. And you no longer then have to load any kind of class roster or give the kids a code for them to go into. They are automatically a part and can be linked through your Canvas, and usually in some cases provide like an assignment or gradebook column for them to turn in and have like that summative experience. And so that goes through all of those different options. So from very, very beginner stage all the way to very advanced options as well. So yeah, they should all of the slides should be set up very similarly. So if you just go into that bottom right-hand corner, you should be able to find the video for each one. Some of them had more intense content that maybe needed more than one slide, but for the most part, we tried to keep each lesson to just one slide there on that document. I added this at the end, Carrie, because as we were kind of talking about it and thinking about more PD on Canvas, I just wanted to give a shout out to our Canvas Trailblazers group, which is our kind of early adopters. And we're going to be asking if there's more people that would like to join us, right? I don't know if you want to speak more to that.
No, that we had a number of representatives, probably 20 schools had a Canvas Trailblazer last year. And again, it was our first major push in elementary. So 20 of your elementary schools have a Canvas Trailblazer who is a resource for you, who used Canvas all of last year, attended tons of trainings with us, meetings with us, and has a lot of information to share. And we're looking to expand that group next year. So if that's something that you're interested in being a part of, please talk to your principal, your administrator, and we'll be requesting that probably in September, names from principals. So let them know if you're interested in joining that group. I think we did it. I know we said it was going to be overwhelming and a lot of information coming at you. But Canvas is really awesome. It can do a ton, and you can see from just those examples from some of the teachers who just started using it, right? Year one users, and how well organized their whole classroom is. Imagine being a student in that classroom where I have access. I don't have to ask you, where's the code to get into Epic Books? Like, it's all there. It's a lot of work on the front end, but then I think you save a lot of time and questions and where's that? And did I turn that paper in and all of those kinds of things later on with the organization. So
we have just been so incredibly impressed with our elementary teachers and how much they have learned and progressed with their use of Canvas in this last year. I mean, they just are doing some really, really amazing things. So yeah, if you ever have any questions about how you're thinking about making this work, we have some amazing Canvas trailblazers that we can point in your direction that can answer your questions and show you how they've done it, because again, they've just blown our minds and have done amazing.
And if you're not sure, feel free to email me. My email address was at the top, and I can tell you who the Canvas Trailblazer is at your school. If people don't know, I'm happy to share that information with you or get you in touch with someone who will help out. In addition to Nicole and myself, that's what our job is. Our job is to help with technology integration. So you need more Canvas support, we're here for you. Okay, any questions from those attending the live session? We'll give you a moment. I just wonder when it's just no questions, that was just so incredibly comprehensive, or they're totally overwhelmed. One of the two.
We tend to open up the fire hose when we do PD sessions.
I know, more information than you possibly needed, but it's here. You can watch the video, pause, go back, check it out.
Yes, I will put that in the chat. As we kind of finish up here, I just wanted to reference and make sure that you know that if you are watching this live or you're watching the video playback, we are giving out a ton of prizes. We have a lot of vendors this year providing PD, and they've also provided a ton of swag. And so if you would like access to any of that swag, we're providing or picking winners each week from the feedback survey. So not only does it help us get to know what things you would like access to, information on PD, on what you need coming up for fall, then it also gives you access to free stuff. So make sure to fill out that survey. And I will put that in the chat for you.
Okay. I think we're good then. We want to thank you for watching the video. Canvas is awesome. Canvas is a lot initially, but you can just take it baby steps at a time, right? You don't have to tackle all those things. You just start with giving your kids some information in a page or two, right? Getting them into Canvas. Here's the link that you're going to need for today's live in-person instruction. And then you can add from there. And as you realize the time saving for you when you don't have to continuously provide the same information over and over and they can reference it themselves, is empowering. So we are here to support you. Your Canvas Trailblazers are here to support you. And we have a ton of other videos, like we said last. Feel free to watch those. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Thanks so much for attending.